I recently heard somebody say that if a particular idea fits an accepted narrative, a narrative that's accepted by the establishment, that the mainstream legacy news will often refer to it as a thought, a theory, a perspective. But if it doesn't fit the narrative, it's often labeled debunked or conspiracy. And I think this whole Wuhan coronavirus lab leak theory flip in mainstream news is a good example of what we're talking about here. I'm not going to get into the lab leak theory itself in this video because you can watch other commentary on that and get a lot more out of it. I am a former TV news reporter, so I'm going to talk about how editorial decisions are made and how words are kind of framed as sort of in or outside of the safety zone. And I think this sort of shows how birds of a feather flock together, as Grandma used to say, when it comes to mainstream news. So, for instance, this is a PolitiFact post where they basically say that this is an archive fact check. Tucker Carlson guest airs debunked conspiracy theory that COVID-19 was created in a lab. And then the editor's note here from May 17th says, when this fact check was first published in September 2020, PolitiFact sources included researchers who asserted the SARS-CoV-2 virus could not have been manipulated. That assertion is now more widely disputed. For that reason, we are removing this fact check from our database pending a more thorough review. And you probably, if you've been paying attention to this, you've been seeing how this original headline of conspiracy theory has changed. Like, let's just take a look back. It was included in this article from, from the New York Times, April 8th, 2020. Why coronavirus conspiracy theories flourish and why it matters. This is CNN. This is from March 31st, 2021. Still saying lab leak COVID-19 theory is like something out of a comic book, virologist says. And then, take a look at this quick video clip from NBC Today Show.
So you're 100% confident there was no leak, no accident?
Oh, I'm confident there's no leak.
100%?
100%.
You see the lower third there through most of this video is saying this is the site of conspiracy theory. Now, to be fair, the definition of conspiracy theory does not necessarily include incorrect, okay? It's more to do with power and hidden secrets and conspiring to do something involved in the theory, not necessarily that it's wrong, okay? But typically, conspiracy theory is used to disparage what somebody is saying, right? And if you're on the up and up, according to the establishment, you're not a conspiracy theorist, right? That's just often used to sort of say whatever this person is saying, you probably shouldn't listen to, and to add sort of an element of danger to it if you do listen to it. So how did we go from many in the legacy news talking about this lab leak theory as something that's sort of out on the fringes and is, again, a conspiracy theory versus now something that's all over the headlines? Well, the first thing is that, as I've said in previous videos, oftentimes journalists look at bureaucratic organizations like the government as credible sources of information that doesn't necessarily need to be confirmed. In other words, if Dr. Fauci says it, then it doesn't need secondary or tertiary evidence. Or in many cases, they're not going to do it. They're going to say, we confirmed it with Fauci, or we confirmed it with the CDC, or we confirmed it with whatever government organization. Whereas if somebody on the outside, for instance, Tucker Carlson's guest, okay, that person is going to need many layers of secondary information to take them seriously. And here's the problem with that. In order to confirm many of these ideas that are risky for mainstream news, you got to have people who have the time and the resources to do that confirming. You have to decide that that's of value. And what we've seen over the last decade or so is the loss not only of newsroom staff, but of investigative teams. Now, that's the first part. The staffing issue is a real problem because fewer people are in charge of producing far more material than ever before. And this also means that, in my opinion, journalists have become more risk averse with what they're willing to go after. And so that means that if you have less time to investigate something, but everybody is saying it, it's less likely people are going to come after you, right? Which is why I've joked, it's not really a joke, that it seems like legacy journalists nowadays are more willing, they feel safer anyway. This just my opinion here. It's safer to repeat something unconfirmed that everybody's repeating, which may be totally false, but everybody's repeating it, and just call it like a theory, right? But everybody's saying it, so you repeat it. It's safer to say something that's not necessarily true, but everybody's saying, than it is to say something that's very true that fewer people are saying. Okay? Because in order to do that, you're putting your neck out, right? And you want to make sure that you're correct. You're not given the time and the resources to do that. So this just gets repeated over and over. If everybody else is saying it, I don't know, safer, right? Safety in numbers, essentially. So you can go from the same phenomenon happening with one thing and then flip it, because it's just the same infrastructure that's doing it. So you go from reporters who were taking Dr. Fauci's word for it at the beginning, and now when Dr. Fauci changes what he's saying, what are they doing? It's the exact same thing. They're taking his word now for it, for whatever he's saying. So it's not necessarily like everyone is now, say, for instance, they were trusting Dr. Fauci and now they're skeptical of Dr. Fauci. No, it's because they're still trusting what he's saying. They're still doing the exact same thing that I was talking about, which is trusting the bureaucratic sources. And now because the bureaucratic source has switched, now it's like, it's not off limits anymore. It's safe enough to say, oh, well, maybe there is something to this, right? Because the safe authority has said it. And that happens a lot of times. That happens a lot. There are certain safe sources of information, even if they have proven time and time again that they have an agenda. The government is one of those places that I remember being in newsrooms where we're like, well, have we confirmed it with the Department of Health? Have we confirmed it with the police department? Have we confirmed it with city council? And it's just kind of taken as an authority that upon saying something oftentimes is just considered confirmed. Whereas, somebody like a James Corbett, we were talking about this when he was on my channel, he doesn't just get to say something and then we say, we've confirmed it with James Corbett. You know what I mean? Unless it's something specific about James Corbett. And then if he's like, yes, I do wear glasses. And we're like, we have confirmed with him that he wears glasses. But if he's talking about something else, it's like, oh, we got to find all this other evidence to confirm it. Anyway, curious what you think about all of this. Again, links in the description if you're watching this on YouTube for how you can support my work on other platforms where I'm less likely to get the axe. If you're watching this on one of those other platforms, thank you for doing that. And I will see you all next time.